Are you ready
Actually,
for your
I
favorite
love
podcast?
this new angle.
All your podcasts, are you ready for the favorite one?
My only all the other podcasts are still speculative.
So it's a speculative podcast, and that's it. That's
Here's
the.
my invisible podcast, friends.
I think we have the title already.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty
So
good podcast title.
speculative podcasts,
Or invisible podcast friends.
invisible podcast friends is pretty good, and also invisible friends were a thing
That
in
was
my
your
past.
NFT or something like that
Yeah. The biggest, the
when you
largest
were a crypto
project
scammer.
I worked on, yeah, when I used to scam people with JPEGs that were not even on the chain. The pictures aren't even on the chain, Peter.
And you could just screenshot them also, right?
Yeah, you could just screenshot them. Oh, let's not get too far into that territory.
Did I tell you I got a bird feeder for Christmas?
You did.
Hmm.
Nice.
It's very nice. I have binoculars next to me now, and I watch the birds, and it's very tranquil.
So how has turning 50 been otherwise?
Yeah, it's
So
been
is it
good.
nice? Is it live? The birds
Yeah,
are
yeah,
there?
yeah. And it's like rare birds too, because we
Oh.
where we live, I think. So overall, being old is really awesome, and I'm ready for
You
more of it.
are you like wrecking the ecosystem by getting unfamiliar rare birds into the territory by feeding them,
Yeah,
I don't know,
all the wrong things.
all the wrong things?
Yeah, and the next thing I'm thinking about getting is telescope.
To watch birds really far away.
Yeah. Interplanetary birds.
Birds in the next town over.
Yeah,
Nice. So you
more
just
for the
into watching
planets.
things.
I'm just old and I like to like look at nature, I guess. And then we don't really have too much work to do anymore, right? Because we have Cursor, which is literally all I'm going to talk about today.
All right, well let's get into it.
Yeah, I s- where we left off last week, I think was you saying you need to try agent mode. I don't think I tried it yet when we recorded last week.
But you have now.
I definitely have now. It's a wild thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
it is pretty crazy.
it's more the future, like for the it's just a fancy autocomplete people.
Mm,
This is this this is not an autocomplete.
nope.
It's it's more. I'm very impressed by it. Like I was most impressed yesterday when I used it yesterday for some like so okay, so I'm doing this talk in about a month, less than like 3 or 4 weeks about Cursor. So I also like am really curious about it right now and want to learn more about it. And that's sort of the lens also like I'm viewing it through, right? Is like what's interesting to talk about in this talk. And like so I'm also like thinking about what's it actually good at and what's it not so good at. And I still don't think AI is very good at designing things, at least not the stuff I've seen. So I'm sure that's coming, or maybe I'm just using it the wrong way or holding it wrong or whatever. But so yesterday, like, it was like I had like 10 minutes or 15 minutes before I had to do something. And I really wanted to make just some sort of progress on my little, invoice receipts app subscription monitoring tool. So I was like, the thing that I wanted to do this week was start um, working on the UI, just to have some sort of UI to look at. And because so far I've just been using AI to sort of like read the receipts and put them in a database, and then to Table Plus has just been my UI, but it just feels more real if there's an actual UI. And I have like 15 minutes, and I start looking at like, should I still in UI? Should I use Catalyst? Should I just not use anything? And I'm already like, I realize, okay, I'm completely overthinking it right now because I don't need to know exactly. I don't need to have the final UI right now. I just need to have a UI, just so I start to get stuff on the screen. And in my head, like, I just thought, like, if I ask Cursor to just create a page for all the purchases, it's just gonna do like raw HTML or something like that. That was kind of what I had pictured in my head. That's what I would do myself if I just wanted to get something on the screen. So I was like, okay, I have at this point maybe I have 10 minutes left because I spent 5 minutes thinking about what library to use, and I'm like, I had just asked it, like, create a page with all the purchases for a user. And then, so first time it screwed up. It started doing all the right thing, like it lists out all the steps, but it's using Vue instead of React, which is kind of dumb.
It's just out of nowhere.
Because it saw I used inertia, and then it just assumed that I was using Vue for some reason.
Yeah, okay.
So it did all the right thing except there was Vue, and I was like, it's a React app. Actually, I'm gonna see if I can still see, because it did something really impressive. Yeah, I still have the prompt here. Yeah, I just basically replied, it's a React app after it did it. And it's like, I apologize for creating a Vue component earlier. You're right. Let's create a React component instead, since it's a React app. I'll update the purchase page, blah, blah, blah. And then it said, let me also update the controller to include the auth user data that the React component expects. I just thought that was like really impressive. That it's like, okay, we're doing React instead. So what's changed now, and like what do I have to like remember to do now that we're using React instead? And it keeps doing little things like that. The other thing is, like, so the page it made, it follows the same sort of styles that the default Laravel app has. So it looks fine. It's like, I'm not going to use that. It's not going to look like that when I ship this app. But for now, like while I'm testing, it works fine. And it also, it added pagination. I didn't ask it to do that, but it just did. And it's like such a chore, like these things, like just creating a simple view like that when it's like from a new resource is a chore. And it's something I procrastinate on because it's so boring. It's like, you need to remember, it's like, you put all the data, and you need to create a new file, and you need to create a table, and you need to. And the next thing it did is I store amounts as an integer with like 2 extra zeros, right, in the database. So I don't have like floating point numbers in the database for purchase. So it also like added a little function to convert them in the UI to actually be formatted as actual currency. And it also created a function to format the dates in a nice way so it looked good in the table. And I didn't ask it to do any of those things. But it's something I would have asked it to do afterwards. I just find it really impressive.
Or you would have pulled in a dependency to format all things, right? And then you would have like hung on to that for who knows how long.
Yeah, we don't really need too much of that in Laravel land. I feel like there's all that stuff is sort of pretty good, like in the default stuff that's already pulled in for me. But yeah, I would just have like looked at it and be like, yeah, I would like to be formatted as actual currency, and I would like to be formatted as a human readable date, you know. And it was just really impressed by it. And it screwed up with the inertia stuff. Like that's the thing I'm still struggling with, how much context to give it. But then as soon as I just said it's a React app, it fixed everything, and it worked at the first try. Like I didn't have to do anything after that. It just worked. And
I'm actually surprised that agent mode wouldn't find out that it's a React app, because it just if it needs a file, it just searches for the file. I've seen.
Yeah, and it does that. Like it always searches for like, is there already a purchases file, or is there already a purchases controller? It search for that because it plans out the steps, right? But yeah, it's just crazy good. And like I use it as well for like there's so many little things where this is sort of like how a side project work is for me, is like, okay, I have half an hour before I need to do something, or I have like, and I try to like squeeze it in, but then like I know I can only do one thing, and it's just so boring. Like, so for example, like I wanted to add the vendor name. store the vendor name of a purchase. So it needs to it needs to update the prompt to check for a vendor, and it needs to create a new vendor table, a new vendor model, new vendor test class, and all this stuff. And it's like, that's something I would just do normally and probably spend half an hour on. And then I would feel like I made a little bit of progress. But with the agent mode, it just literally takes like a couple minutes. And it's so great, because one of my objections to using Cursor to generate code is that it doesn't generate it the same way that Laravel would generate it always. But with the agent mode, it runs the Laravel commands. So it does, like, it uses Laravel to create the migration instead of manually creating a migration, which just feels safer and better. Because there is also there's really subtle little things that you need to think about when you're prompted. Like, I'm pretty sure in my experience so far, if I had just said create a page to list all the purchases, like this bit me at some point, it would create a page to list all the purchases, but it wouldn't scope it on the user, the authenticated user. Because it did.
I mean, you did say all the purchases.
Right, yeah, but that's it. Like, it made me think of, like, I was gonna make a tweet yesterday with that like programmer joke where it's like, go get a liter of milk in the supermarket, and if they have eggs, get 6. And then you come home with 6 liters of milk because they had eggs, and it's not what the person meant.
I never seen that one. That's great.
And agent mode feels a little bit like that. So like, I specifically say stuff like, create a list all the user's purchases. Just like that subtle change, like make sure you mention the user, and then it'll do it the right way.
That should probably go into your cursor rules file.
Yeah.
To just note that you should always scope things to.
Yeah, I think maybe that's my assignment for next week, is start using the file.
Yeah. I mean, it's so good without it also, so you barely.
Yeah. So basically my workflow now is like, I always try to get it to do the test, just because I like the TDD workflow. But even if it doesn't do the test first, I just make sure that before I commit something, I want to have tests for it, because it gets out of hand so quickly. But dude, it's crazy. It's just really crazy. And I think it's going to be a good talk, actually. So I decided today that I'm going to do live coding for the talk, because there's no better way to show this than to just build an app from scratch in like 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And I even thought like, maybe I could I could do a little like sort of choose your own adventure for the audience, and then you can like request features, and we just have Cursor build it right there. And then for the end of the talk, just talk a little bit about like some like broader like thinking about how this is going to impact stuff and how people should think about it.
Good approach. I mean, you'll share the excitement, the joy, the wonder with the crowd.
Yeah, I'm really trying to like get those like, it's just an autocomplete people to see that it's not just an autocomplete.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but it's for the whole package.
Yeah, it's like autocompleting it's like autocompleting actions based on your thoughts, or like some.
Yeah. But also deleting stuff. So it's like autocompleting for your whole existence.
Yeah, autocompleting, which means like completing things that a human would normally do, and it completes it instead.
Yeah, autocomplete for your issues.
It's like a car is just autocomplete for like when you're trying to go somewhere. It's just like you walk to the car and then it autocompletes the rest of the trip for you.
I mean, it's like you give it a to-do and just say, go do it. And then it just
autocomplete your to-do list.
But I mean, like the tests first approach and everything, that could go into Cursor rules file. Or possibly like your
generic
I thought about Cursor rules, like for every project ever.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah, because I think my next thing, I want to keep it on an even tighter leash now, I think. So, because the larger a project gets, the more just, especially if you're just doing reviews, because I'm really treating it as like doing code review more than I'm coding. And when you're only doing the review, you don't have the same like amount of context sort of loaded in your brain. Like the project feels like bigger and more like out of your control faster than it normally does when you haven't written the code.
Yeah.
So I think the solution there is to write tests and then sort of have it, make sure it pauses before it starts implementing the feature. Just the goal is to have like a failing test that is approved first.
Yeah. And maybe also read the tests that it writes. Like, is this actually what
yeah,
you
I
wanted
do
to
that.
Because
I definitely do that, yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of sometimes just hitting yes, let's go on cursor suggestions.
It's very tempting to just let go.
yeah. Especially for my Mac apps, which all have 0 to very few tests, which is one thing. And another thing is that I'm barely like hanging on to what it's writing. So when it gets into Swift UI, I can like barely do Swift UI. So I get very little, or possibly I get a lot from reading it, but it feels like a tedious task just reading what it.
Agent mode is really, really fast. Like, I was actually saying this to Adam the other day because he's not really like super on the AI train yet because he loves programming too much to let go.
It's part of it.
And I was just saying like how I really feel like you really have to be good to use this because
to like tame it to
but it's also like driving a really, really fast car. Like you can't do that unless you're a really good driver.
Right.
Like a fast car doesn't get like a really bad driver somewhere faster because they're just like ending a crash, you know?
Right. Yeah,
or they'll kill
like,
someone on the way or whatever.
I've been watching skiing on YouTube for the past few days because I'm looking forward to all my ski trips.
Oh yeah.
And this feels like skiing really fast, but like maybe going off the path, and it's still keeping up the pace. So you can go like it can turn out really bad really quick if you don't like lead it down the right path.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you have like
So the car metaphors just as good. My mind was just in skiing metaphors.
It really added some extra.
It's the same thing.
I will go back to the car metaphor for a second, just because it's better.
Sorry.
What's the thing in the car like that? This the one where you just said what is that called? Like
it's
where you
called
just said
a steering wheel.
Yeah. Not the autopilot, but just like where it just set the pace and it just goes.
Yeah, what's it called? It's called
whatever that thing is called.
It's a fartpilot in Danish.
Fart pilot.
Fart pilot, that's right. So let's just say it's the same in English.
Fart pilot.
So does it have a fart pilot? Your new car. Your new expensive car. Does it even have
Wow. That didn't translate well. So, but anyways, it's kind of like that. Like if you turn that on, and you're supposed to turn it off when you go off the highway, you know, because otherwise you're just gonna fly into something, you know.
Yeah.
So you really need to. You sort of you need to sort of have a straight line ahead of you, and then you just send cursor off. But you need some sort of way to turn it off again and brake and course correct. Because it is really fast.
Okay,
it's just so
new
fast.
metaphor. It's like bowling with the with the fences on the sides, like for kids. And you have to beat the fences. So cursor is the bowling ball. The pins.
Let's stick to the car metaphor.
The app. Okay. Give me a second. I'll find another bad metaphor.
It's like no. Anyway, so yeah, cursor's great. Agent mode is insane. I've been making progress on this little receipts app. I think because I started calling it Tab, like TAB. I just wanted to keep calling it that. For half an hour yesterday, I thought about if I should call it What the Sup, but I didn't like. I didn't like that it was only subscription focused.
Yeah.
I also thought about What the Buck.
Tab is a good name, to be honest.
I thought,
but
no.
But What the Sup is probably, I think even it's better.
I thought about What the Buck, but that was like a $4,000 domain name.
No, it's more like like handle the stream or something like that. Like it's a stream of purchases
Wow,
that's
that's a
coming in.
great name.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Handle the stream of
So the metaphor
purchases.com.
is like it's a stream of water, and there's just your money flowing away, and you try to handle it. So it's a
Stop the
sieve.
bleeding.
Is that the word? But it's not catching anything. It's just watching it. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, eventually I'll find a name for it. Tap.com wasn't available, sadly, so couldn't get that one.
Funnily enough, no. So the name tab, does it come from? It's from like opening a tab at a bar,
Yeah.
right? And how is that related to watching
And keeping tab on
subscriptions?
things.
Keeping tab on
The
things.
reason you have a tab at the bar is so they can keep tab on
So
your
is that
purchases, right?
Is that the
They're
same?
keeping tab of everything
word?
you buy in
Yeah,
the
probably
bar.
is. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just
Yeah, I
like
don't know.
it's like related to like finance and stuff like that. Yeah. So
Alright.
far, it's far from being released, I can say, but so I don't super need a name right now, but it's still in my head called that.
Yeah, it's like a contested sound, I guess. So people will confuse it with the word tap with the P, or like a browser
Yeah, maybe
tab.
especially
or-
non-English speakers,
Yeah,
native English speakers.
tap with the B first and then the P. Tap
Yeah,
or
that's
tap
even better.
tab, or three of them. But then how do you mix them? Yeah. Okay, so progress, cursors fast.
Yeah, and it's giving me lots of ideas for my talk. So I think I'm more excited about the talk now. When I submitted my talk, it was mostly just because I wanted to like challenge myself to give a talk again, like because
Yeah.
I did one last year and ended up doing it at the Laravel Live conference. It was really fun. Yeah,
That's
I
how
thought
you,
about maybe.
That's how you announce
I-
a stand-up show as well. I know from all my stand-up friends that first you have to come up with the title. So you make something
Yeah.
up that sort of sounds like there's a plan, but there isn't a plan. And then you
Yeah,
start writing the show,
exactly.
and you have to like work backwards towards the title. So
I'm kind of thinking if I could
That's what
submit
you
it
did.
somewhere else.
at the top.
There's a Laravel Live conference in London in the summer. I'll put a little pressure on them. Maybe I'll try to submit it there if it goes well at the meetup, or maybe before, and just say that it will go well.
Yeah.
It'll be
I
fun
think
to
you
do a conference talk again this year. Like I don't want to do conference talks all the time, but I think it's fun to do like one every year, something like that.
It's a lot of work. That's the
Yeah, but I mean, if you
That's
could do the
the-
same talk a couple times, that starts to
yeah, that helps.
you start to get more
Like, that's how
value
you-
for the effort
I-
you put in.
It's so easy to fool yourself with something like this. Like it's only half an hour, right? Giving the talk, but then then you forget all the work that goes into it, and you always like when you're presenting in front of people, you want it to go well. So the work is almost double because you have to check it and run it again.
But I do think it's like it's a good it's good for me to have something like that in the calendar because it sort of keeps me motivated. It's like I'm motivated to build the receipts app because I want it for myself, and I kind of just it's really fun to build. But also like giving a talk about cursor mode, like there's just a part of me that's like I need to work on this today so I have more cursor experience, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Deadlines,
Yeah.
they're like
Exactly.
the ultimate hack,
Yeah.
productivity.
So I
hack.
can't remember if I talked. I think when we talked last time, I hadn't really actually started using that LLM library for Laravel, Prism. It's called. I don't even think I could remember
No,
the name last time.
Mentioned it
But
briefly.
yeah, I started using it, so I'm actually doing everything in Laravel now, and it's just it's really good. It's if you want something, if you want to build something for the Ruby world, that's like an easy win. But just copy that library and build it for Ruby because it's like it's just so nice to use. And it the thing that's awesome about it is that, for example, like OpenAI's some of their models, they have this concept of structured data, and this library makes it really easy to write those sorts of prompts. So you just basically you have a very very basic prompt. In my case, it's like parse this email receipt, and then you provide it with like all the different fields that you wanted to parse out of the, in my case, the email. And for each field, you sort of have an individual prompt for that field. So it ends up being very easy to write the prompt because it's super structured, and it's really, really easy to add more fields because you just add a little prompt for that field. And I think I'm using the, let me actually be 100% sure I'm saying the right thing here. I'm pretty sure the model I use is it's an OpenAI 4.0 mini model.
Okay.
It's insanely fast. Like it takes less than a second for me to parse an email. And it's also pretty good. Like I would say the thing the thing that is struggling with a little bit is whether something is a one-off purchase or a subscription.
Mm.
Because it only has a very small like visual cue in the email. It has like, because if it's a subscription, there's like a date range instead of a purchase date.
Oh. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I can tweak the prompt a little bit to make it even, but even without, I don't even mention anything about how to find out if it's a one-off purchase or a subscription in my prompt. But based on my testing, it's like every 10 times it gets it wrong.
Yeah, and also this is something that you can include in, like, as soon as the user manually changes it from a purchase to a subscription, you
Yeah,
will know, and you
I
can
can
send that
start.
along to the API
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah. Yeah. So the user can fix it. But even, I think even if I told it in the prompt, look for a date range,
Yeah.
look for something that says subscription, look for something that says like some other words that are sort of giveaways, I think it's going to be even more reliable. This is based on a Stripe email without reading the actual invoice or receipt. I'm still only reading the actual HTML in the email, and it's still like it's one
So
out of 10 times it gets it wrong.
it's not even reading the PDF.
No, not yet. I haven't gone that far yet because I haven't had to yet, because it's sort of just, it worked just with the email. So
Yeah.
I'm just focusing on building the app now, and then I'll at some point I'll like sort of dive deeper and do more on the receipt processing part. But not right now. I'm just trying to like make the whole app basically, and the email itself is like good enough to pull out the company name, the name of like what they purchased, whether it's a subscription or one-off, or the date, the amount, yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun, and that library is just really amazing, because then you know for sure that you're going to get some JSON back. Sometimes if there's a problem with the OpenAI API, you get like it doesn't work, but at least you never get just like a text prompt or something. You always get either like an empty something or JSON that you can parse, and I'm pretty sure you can guarantee that those fields are going to be there in some fashion. Like it's yeah, it's really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
I
really
bet you
fun
could,
too.
if would be fun to see if 4.0 mini fails, you could just give it a try with 4.0, regular 4.0, the expensive one, and see if
Yeah,
that works better.
yeah, but it's hard to know if it's failed, right? Because
Yeah.
it's hard to, but like
I guess if like
like
important fields are missing, you
yeah,
could
if
give
they're
it a try
missing,
with the
but I
other
don't
one.
think it's gonna ever be. I don't think they're gonna be missing. I mean, yeah, if they can't find it, right, that's true. Like if like let's say I get a weird email and it couldn't find the amount, for example, I could
Yeah.
try a different model. That's true.
You
But one
probably
thing I
have to
also
tell it that it's okay to give up. Like it's okay to not give
yeah,
me an answer here.
yeah. Like one thing I thought about is like if like, because I so the day that I implemented this feature, I already had like a credit on OpenAI because of another project I did like a year ago. So I just hooked it up to that, and I had like $9 or something in my account. And I was just kind of expecting that I would spend all of it that day just testing. Um, so afterwards, I went in to see how much I spent, and I spent 10 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine it. And it's gonna be even cheaper with the DeepSeek and all those the
Yeah, I'm not
Chinese
gonna throw people's receipt data into
stolen models.
DeepSeek.
I think if you're using the self-hosted open source version, probably it's
You don't
okay.
think it's phoning home? Probably
No,
not.
I think people would have found out if it did.
So then, yeah, but then I thought about like if it's that cheap, like maybe I can just like parse each receipt 2 times, and then if they're not the same, then I do a third time. I do a different model.
Yeah,
Like there are ways to make it way more uh, correct.
yeah,
And even if it's not like even if it thought Transistor was a one-time purchase, then you just like edit the Transistor subscription in the app, and it changes it to back to subscription or whatever. And then in the future, it'll just know.
yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of my update. It's been a lot of fun. I'm very excited about this whole.
Nice.
Just so like I'm excited about the AI in Cursor. I'm excited about the AI in the OpenAI's API that I can use to parse all this stuff, like just
Yeah,
all the AI stuff.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
having a lot of fun.
It's amazing.
And I don't
It's
feel like I'm
amazing.
going to be out of a job because we're not yet at a point where this just runs by itself and
No,
no
it's
one
only
is
a
in
fart
charge.
pilot, right?
Yeah, I'm the fart pilot still.
You still need to control the wheel.
They need to have a farting human being
Yes, they need a butt
available.
for the fart pilot. Someone needs to be the real human butt for it.
Okay, let's move to you.
Let's move on. Yeah, so
We'll cut this out, right, Mikkel?
yeah, nope, nope. This is the good stuff.
Okay.
This is the good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been.
Mikkel used to be a comedian. That's why he's so funny.
That's why I left so much of the fart jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He knows a
Yeah,
good job. He knows a good joke when he smells a one. Anyways.
You're not too bad either. I've been a bit distracted. First off, I've started the new freelance contract, so
Okay.
that takes a bit of my time. But also, I posted the first video that I did about the app Leader Key on Reddit. And if you were wondering where the like the productivity software tinkerers were hiding, I can tell you it's on Reddit. Because they really love the shit out of it.
I saw you tweet that you posted on Reddit, and I'm never on Reddit, but I checked it out. It was really, really well received.
Yeah. People really
Amazing,
loved it, and I guess I could have known that people who love to tinker with the Meg apps also would be the ones to hang out on the Reddit r/Meg apps. So that was nice, and I got a bunch of subscribers and a bunch of users and a bunch of stars for Leader Key, but also
What's
those
a subscriber
tinkers
mean?
YouTube subscribers.
Okay, yeah.
Someone asked me if it like, why did you make it free? And I told them, like, I don't know. I tried to sell an app once, didn't like it. This was better. And so for now, you can pay me in giving it a star and a YouTube sub. So so that went well. But with all those tinkerers came all the feature requests and the bug reports, I guess. And what's funny is that on GitHub now, you can just like click Copilot, and like this is so frictionless to make a PR. And it's made me hesitant whenever I see someone post like create a PR. Used to be that this was like showing engagement and like willing to work, and you checked it out, the code locally, ran it into Xcode, you made the changes, you tested them. But now I'm just like squinting at all the PRs, like, is this just Cursor? Is this just GitHub Copilot? Because you can do it directly on GitHub, and then when you do, GitHub includes, I think, automatically what do they call it? An AI use disclosure. Mm-hmm. So the PR gets a link to a gist that has the whole a conversation between the user and GitHub Copilot, which is like,
Interesting.
I'm not gonna read that, first of all. But then second of all, like now I don't even know if you even ran the app locally before submitting this. And then like it's just like it's too little friction for me to just trust it. And
Yeah.
so of course it could be better with if I had written some tests, but all my Mac apps are like weird and running the status bar and have weird privileges, so it's probably not easy to test. But I should just ask Cursor to write some tests. Honestly, that could be a good start. But yeah, that's funny how I can just sometimes accept whatever Cursor throws at me if I was the one who asked for it. But then
No,
if
I think it
somebody
makes
else
sense.
asked for it, I'm like, I don't know, man. This feels
Yeah.
like, yeah.
No, that
Now
makes sense.
now
It
I'm
makes sense to
suddenly
me why you feel that way.
responsible for your AI slop. It's not my. It used to be just my AI slop, but now it's like, can everybody just throw slop onto the pile, and I'm still responsible.
It makes me think of like whenever it was like doing Hacktoberfest or something like that. There's always like a
Oh yeah,
ton of people that are like submitting like typos and space, like extremely small changes just to like get you know, have pull requests and stuff on
yeah,
GitHub, so
yeah,
they
yeah.
get some sort of credit or whatever. I don't even know how that
The
works.
contribution graph.
Yeah.
But still, like, there's still the job left of me being the product manager, I guess.
Mhm.
In that, people have like, so used to be you have a feature request, you just wrote the feature request, and then you could discuss it. But now it's like feature request, and here's the PR that implements it, and by the way, just like go with it. But I still need to think about, do I even want this change? Like, is this the direction it should go? Should I take this on? Should I?
Yeah.
So that job isn't done for you still, and like Cursor doesn't have taste. No AI pilot is a human, like that's obvious. But it's still like you have to remind yourself all the time because it's so good at parodying humans that it's like you still have to think about, is this even really a good idea?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Certainly.
that's
That's a
been
great
distracting.
idea.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. But it has started saying, yes. And then the thing, that's my
Yeah.
new tell. But for one thing, I have like a config editor in the app key, and it's performing horribly. I think it's Swift UI that just doesn't do, like, changing a simple data structure well. It's like it doesn't make sense that it performs so badly, but it does. But I asked Cursor to just like flat out rewrite this whole thing in AppKit, like the prior framework
Yeah.
for UI stuff, and it just did. And it was like no problem. It used to be that you first needed to like develop a theory that it could be better in AppKit, and then you needed to spend 2 days like methodically going through it and rewriting the whole thing. But now it's just like it takes 30 seconds to try. Okay, it is better. Now I just have to like bring it up to the same level, which is it's insane. It's like the same point that we keep making, but it is really like, if I fear for anyone, it's like junior developers. Like, how do you get into an industry that has completely removed the need for inexperienced developers?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I guess there are a lot of industries like that where
Yeah.
where you're like in control of some
just
sort of
used
like
to be
very
that we were the
advanced
ones
equipment.
who,
It just our field
Yeah.
used to be a place where you could just like start with very like basic understanding and just sort of like figure it out step by step. But I think like you have a longer window now where you just need to learn stuff and like basically education before you start doing stuff for real, maybe.
Yeah. Or I guess you could just read whatever Cursor tells you, because it's also like a great teacher. So if you just make sure to
Yeah.
read what it's like suggesting,
Maybe everything is just
then
faster.
and
Learning
why
to
it's
code.
suggesting
And
it. Yeah, yeah, probably. Yeah,
I also
you
realized
could
that
maybe
the
like
table.
tell it that you're learning.
Yeah, yeah. It'll get you up to speed. I just realized that the table it made for me, it also made it responsive, and it even said so. I just didn't read it. I don't read all the text it writes. I read the code, but I don't care about
Nope,
all the
me
text
neither.
it writes. But it also made it responsive, and it's just like,
And often,
I
if
don't know, it's a nice touch.
I think we are kind of out of sync now, so it's getting harder to have a conversation.
Yeah, I won't say
But
anything else. You just do your update.
all right. So so leader key and posting it on Reddit and losing a Monday to going to Copenhagen with the wife. I sort of have put NitroKit onto the neglect stack, which I'm proudly stacking higher than ever. Just responsibilities put on top of each other. It's just the neglect all the way down. But yeah, I'll just have to be patient. I think that's a struggle right now to be patient. There's just so many things that I want to do. Like how are people bored? I don't get it. I don't get how anyone can sit down and just think I have nothing to do. Like
No.
I don't think that ever happens in my life. Sometimes I sit down and I think I don't want to do anything, but there's something else. Like there's nothing. There's never a time when I sit
Yeah.
down and say I can't figure out what to do, because there's just always the neglect stack and the want stack and like the artistic expression stack, and there's just like so many stacks to take from. So yeah, that's the sentiment.
I think it's when you only have an hour or two every day where you're actually in control of what you do. You like stuff the whole day. You're just sort of like think about what you want to do with that time, and then once it's there, like there's no time to like just sit down. This time it wasn't my internet. I think it was just my phone because it's making weird sounds. But
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
and then then that you have the next
and that's why
24-hour cycle.
you get so mad if you that's why you get so mad if you accidentally fall asleep while putting the kids to bed. And you wake up and it's 11 or like half past.
I sit on
11.
on a hard
That's
chair.
just the only
So that doesn't happen.
trick. All right, the sync issues are breaking this conversation, so maybe
We're
that's
syncing.
it for this week.
See you later.